All right, welcome. This is my first IGTV, and I'm going to talk about my ayahuasca experience in Costa Rica. I went to a resort called Rhythmia. It's actually a medical center. I spent 7 days there, and I did ayahuasca for 3 nights out of the 4, which I thought was pretty good. And I'm going to go over every night and what happened and just try to give you an idea of what I went through in my experience. So the first night I was of course nervous leading up to the ceremony. I've never done this before. This is my first time. And luckily everyone that worked there and all of the beautiful people I met were comforting, and it was most people's first time. There were a few people that had done it before or had actually been to the resort before. So it was reassuring to see them as well. So the first night comes and we all gather into the ceremony room. And I thought there were just gonna be like some yoga mats on the floor, something very basic, but they actually had like beds for each of us. It was just a mattress, but it was a comfy mattress with a really comfy thick blanket and some pillows, and they were all kind of stacked right next to each other. So when you enter the ceremony room, you can't talk to each other. The whole time during ceremony, you're not allowed to speak to anybody. They have this thing where they're like, mind your own business, right? You can talk to the shamans, and the shamans can talk to each other, but that's it. They want you to have your experience. They don't want you to be affected by other people. So you go in, you pick whatever bed you want, and you start to relax. They tell you to go over your intentions, things that you want to heal, things that you want to be shown from the medicine. So I start doing my breathing and my deep breathing, and I just try to relax my body as much as possible. And before we actually do the ayahuasca, they have this thing that we do called rapé. And we go up to the shamans, and it's this dried powdered tobacco, and they put it in their hand. They have this long pipe, and they put it up your nose, and they blow it up your nose. I was a little nervous about that because I'm like, I've never heard of this before, and it's supposed to relax you and open up your third eye, your pineal gland. So I'm like, well, I'm here to have the experience, so I'm just gonna do everything. And that's optional, you don't have to do it. You can even go to the ceremonies and not even do the ayahuasca. Like, everything is very optional. So I go up to get that done, and they tell you it's gonna burn, and it burns, and they do each side, and my eyes are watering, and I'm like, oh my God. I go back to my mattress to just calm down, and I'm like, what just happened? What was that? But then I just start to feel amazing and calm and very clear, and it's supposed to like clear your energy and just do all these amazing things. So it's called rapé. I believe it's spelled R-A-P-E, but I'm not sure about that. But you can look it up. And so it's my first time even hearing about this. So then you go back to your mattress and you calm down again, and then they start the actual ceremony with the ayahuasca. So you get in line and you go up to the shaman, and you're supposed to say your intentions before you take your first drink. So I do that. I take my drink. I don't think it tastes that bad. It's bitter, but it's like, it was fine. It went out fine for me. I have been on this healing regimen of mine for a very long time, and I've had some really bitter tinctures and herbal medicines that have been way worse than that. So I was so prepared. So I take it down and I go lay on my mattress, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for, the stuff to kick in. I'm waiting. I'm like, nothing's happening. Like, am I immune to this stuff? I start to worry that like I'm not gonna get this experience that I want to get. And then after about an hour, I'm guessing, there's no clocks, you don't really know what time it is, they call for another cup. So I go up, I get in line, and the shaman asked me how I am. I said, I'm fine. I said, I feel really relaxed, and I can feel the medicine like working its way through me, but I don't really, like, I could kind of feel it in my stomach. It kind of felt like this heavy feeling, but not anything intense. He's like, okay. So he gives me a whole cup, and I drink it, go to my mattress. After 20 minutes, it's like, whew. I'm like, whoa. That's what I feel, and I just feel super tired and like relaxed. I'm like, I gotta lay down. So I lay down, I get up on my side, and I just feel heavy. And then the nausea starts. And right before we started ceremony, we had a gathering in the middle of the room, and the shamans kind of, went over more things about the medicine. And before this, we had a lot of classes leading up to it. So I felt pretty comfortable. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, right? And so he said, a big thing that I remembered, he said that if you have pain, especially nausea, that means that it's healing your stomach, like it's healing. So any kind of pain you have throughout your body, it means it's healing that area. So you want that pain. So I'm like, all right, I definitely want my stomach healed, because those of you that know me, I've had stomach issues since I was a child, right? Acid reflux, all kinds of nausea I've dealt with. So I'm like, all right. So all of a sudden I just start breathing through the pain. I'm just like breathing through it, which was weird because I never really did that before with anything. But I remember them talking about it a lot in class, and it was almost like my intuition knew to just breathe, do deep breaths. So I'm just like, like the most intense breaths I've ever done. And I'm like, how am I breathing like this? Because I've had problems with my throat, and I usually can't breathe like that. So I was surprised that I was able to do that. And I'm like, well, it must be the medicine. It's a super strong anti-inflammatory, right? So my whole body feels relaxed. All of the like pain in my fibromyalgia is just gone. The only pain I have is this nausea. So I'm like, I feel great besides this, right? And it didn't bother me that much. It was not the worst nausea I've ever had. So I'm just breathing through it, deep breaths. And the whole night kind of goes like that. I never have to get up to go to the bathroom. I thought I was going to throw up a couple times. Nothing came out. So while I'm doing this and experiencing this, I just feel like all of this negative energy coming off of my body. Like I'm breathing it out. And I didn't know exactly what it was because I felt like there were so many things that I wasn't supposed to know. So I just kept trusting the medicine. I'm like, I trust you. I'm releasing. I am healing. You know, I kind of had mantras I was saying in my head. And this whole time, I was kind of dizzy every time I opened my eyes. So I had to keep them shut. And when I did try to look around the room, people didn't look like people. And like everyone was laying down and it just looked deformed. And I was like, I don't even want my eyes to be open. So I just kept them shut and I kept trusting. And throughout this experience, sometimes some images would come up, random images. And one image that really stuck was I had an image of Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. For those of you who watch it, she's like the mother of dragons. She's like the best character on that show because she's like, it's a very dark show for those of you who don't watch it, but she is like trying to save everybody and release the slaves. And, you know, she has so much compassion for the human race there. And she's the only one that owns these dragons, so she's very powerful. And I had an image of her and I felt like I was her and that my breath was like these dragons I was unleashing, like the power of dragons, which was weird. And then later, as I was reflecting the next day, somebody was like, well, you have 2 lungs, because it was 2 dragons in my mind. And there's like, each lung was like a dragon. Kind of weird, but that's what I got from it. And so I really understood the power of your breath. That's when it like clicked in me. Like that's what the universe was showing me. That's what I was showing myself. However you want to see how ayahuasca works, right? So I was like so excited to start implementing this practice in my life. And then this fear set in like, well, Megan, you know, as I talked to myself, like you're not gonna be able to use this practice because you have problems with your throat. You have this dry cough, and when you take deep breaths, it hurts. It's not a good feeling. That's why I'm always so thirsty. I'm drinking water. It's just like I'm dry all the time. And right away, I heard this voice that was like, nah, we got this. We got this. And I was like, oh. And then I realized it healed in that moment. Like the thing that hurt it the most, right? The breath that hurt my throat healed it. And I was like, that was crazy. So I was so excited. And, but I couldn't move at the same time. So I'm just laying there. And so the whole ceremony kind of went on like that. I was just glued to the bed, and it felt like I was just getting so much sleep. And reflecting on it the next day, I'm pretty sure I was releasing all of the energy that I soaked on from other people. I'm an empath, and I care a lot about people, and I always want to make people feel better, which isn't a bad thing. But if you don't know how to do it properly, you take on their energy, and you feel it, and it weighs you down. So I felt like all of that was just coming off of me. I just knew I was healing, and it felt good. It felt really good. I wasn't scared at all. So then the ceremony comes to a close, and the shaman, every night at the end of each ceremony, the shaman, the one that leads it, has everyone come to the center of the room, and people can share their experiences. They can ask questions. It's just like a safe place, and he kind of goes over different things. And when he called, I couldn't get out of bed. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna lay here. I can't move. I can't even sit up. So I just laid there, and I could kind of hear like the gist of what he was saying. I really kind of just felt the energy, and it was very comforting. His voice was so soothing. He was my favorite shaman. And I loved all of them though. And so I could tell they were sharing experiences because they were all laughing and having a good time. And I was kind of sad, like I was missing out, but I knew I was still tripping. I was just like, I can't move. So then they all leave, like everyone starts to leave. And then the cleaning crew comes in, and they're starting to clean up everything, you know? And there's still a shaman there with me. And so I finally was able to get up enough to like waver over, because they're all there for you. You know, either if you need any help, you just put your hand up and they come right over. And she's like, yeah, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I just can't get up yet. Like, I'm too dizzy. I'm so tired. And she's like, that's fine. Take your time. Like, lay here as long as you want. You know, no rush. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I'm like, how am I going to get up? So another half hour or so goes by, and I start to feel better. And I start to get up, and someone helped me get back to my room. And I could barely drink any water, so I just passed out. So that was night one. And I did it. I was like, I did it. I made it through. So the next day I was still nauseous for about half the day, and then it went away, and I was like, I'm ready for night 2. Like, what's night 2 gonna bring? Oh, hold on. I think I'm talking a little fast. I need some coconut water. All right, so night 2, we got a new shaman, another dude. I think this was the masculine night. They had like different themes every night, but I couldn't always remember which night was what. There was a lot going on, you know, between all day you're there, you're busy, you're doing classes, there's yoga every morning, and then you get a free massage, so I got that done one day. You're supposed to get colon cleanses, you get 3 while you're there, but I couldn't make any of those, so wasn't too sad about that. So night 2, okay, so we go in, and I got my intentions. So they have 3 main ones at Rhythmia that they want you to focus on. And the first one is, show me who I've become. Right? A big part of healing yourself is realizing who you really are and what you're really going through, like on a subconscious level, right? So that's the first one. The second one is merge me back with my soul at all costs. So that's basically merging you back with your inner child. We all lose our inner child, right? As we grow up, we become stressed, we stop playing as much. So yeah, merge me back. Okay, third is heal my heart. Heal my heart. So I was like, I got these intentions. I also wanted them, my big other intention was show me what I need to see to heal my body. So I basically like kind of had 4, I guess, but you can have more than 1. So the last night I had 2 whole pages, so it's all good, you know, you come with all your questions. So I go into this night, and right away when the medicine kicks in, I only took 1 cup this night. It kicked in about 20 minutes, and I felt good, and I felt clear, like I could open my eyes and I could see everything, and I wasn't dizzy. And I just became so intuitive with my body. I became like such a therapist, and I just felt so powerful. So I decided to start asking about different parts of my body, like different parts, like why is my stomach, why do I have these stomach issues? I have wrist pain, I have neck and back pain, depression and anxiety, right? I have all these issues. I have a lot of issues that I wanted to heal. So I asked them, I said, okay, I would go to the specific body part, and I would say, can you tell me what emotion is associated with this pain? And right away I would get an answer, like clear as day. It would be like fear, or it would be sadness, or it would be like feeling lack of support, right? And it would just be so obvious. And I'd say, okay. I would say, show me where this came from. And sometimes it would be like a ton of images, and it kind of got overwhelming. So I'd be like, okay, no. I said, show me where in my life that this started, where the pain had started, like what event in my timeline. So it would take me right to a specific event in my childhood where the event happened, and it was so clear. It was just like boom. And then I was like, okay, I would thank the pain for being there. I was very gentle with myself. I'd be like, oh, Megan, oh, that's sad. I'd have a moment. I'd say, okay, thank you, pain, for being there. Thank you for showing me what you needed to show me, because it was a part of me. Like, I had soaked that in for years. It wasn't something I just could like let go like that, which you would think you would since it's painful, but I kind of understood how gentle I needed to be with myself. So I would thank the pain for being there, and I'd say, okay, it's time to go. You're no longer welcome here. Like, you don't need this in your life anymore. And then I would say, okay, body, show me how to release it. How do we want to release this? Because there's a lot of ways you can release negative energy and toxins out of your body, right? I learned through the breath is the biggest one. Crying. Sometimes I would be streams of tears would be down my face while I'm on the ayahuasca, and I didn't even know I was crying. I'm like, why is my face wet? Yawning. That was a big one my first night with the breath work, was the yawning. Dancing, which I never completely got up and danced, but I would sometimes just move my arms, and it felt like amazing. Sweating, which I didn't really do until kind of days after the ayahuasca. So yeah, movement, breath, crying, I feel like I'm missing a couple. Oh, shaking can be one. That one I experienced kind of the last day. But anyway, so I would ask, and sometimes it'd be more than one way, and I would do it, and I'd process it, and I'd let it go, and then I'd go to the next part of my body, right? So I went through each part of my body separately, and I was able to do that. And then the last one I came to was my depression, because that was the biggest one. I'm like, this is the finale. This is the one at the end. So because I have this heavy feeling on my chest, and it's gotten really bad the past couple years, and it's kind of always been there, but usually more mild at times. So I asked about that, and I was like, okay, where is this depression coming from? And it was the fact that I had split from my soul, my child self, right? And I was missing her. I was missing that aspect of her. And I was like, oh my God, I just started crying. And I was like, I realized that I was gonna have to make some changes in my life to integrate that part of me back. So I made some promises. There was like 4 promises of things I was gonna change in my life. And I made those promises, and then I said, okay, are you ready to come back? And she was like, yes, which is me, but like, it's hard to explain. I hope I'm doing a good job for you guys. Are you with me? So that part integrates back into me, and I just have like the best cry, and I feel amazing. And then after that cry and all those releases, I feel like a child, and I am excited. I'm like, okay, like there's a whole outside area that you can go in, and it's kind of like tapered off. So there's hammocks around that you can lay in. There's grass, and then there's a fire pit in the middle. And you're allowed to go outside. And I couldn't the first night, obviously, right? Because I couldn't move from my bed. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go see the fire. I'm so excited, right? So I go to the fire. And there's a shaman that comes up to me, and there's a guy having a really intense experience, like right to the side, and it kind of sounds like he's being possessed. Later, I found out he was having the most beautiful experience ever. And I wasn't scared. I knew he was having an experience that he needed to have. I wasn't worried about anybody else but myself. It was a good feeling, a good change for me. So I sit by the fire. He's like, you know, we really need to make space for him. Can you go over that way? And I was like kind of upset for a minute, like, oh, I'm finally outside, and you're like making me get away from the fire. So I go away from the fire, and then I go on this like porch kind of step area, and I look up in the sky. This was the full moon night. Full moon in my sign, by the way. I'm a Taurus, and it was a Taurus full moon. Coincidence, maybe. I think not. So I look up in the most gorgeous full moon with this like a rainbow ring around it, and then the stars were like sparkling. So I'm just like, holy shit, like what is this? Like, where am I? And the sky looked closer than it normally did, and I could see Orion's belt and like the constellations that I knew so clearly, and I'm just like, holy cow. So I'm like, I get into the grass, which the grass is wet at this point. There's a lot of humidity, but I didn't care. I was excited to get stains on all these white clothes that I had, because this would be the moment. Like, I would remember these stains for this moment. So I lay in the grass, and I just look up, and I start just asking the moon questions. I just talk to the moon, which sounds crazy, but that's the owner of this place, Rhythmia. His name's Jerry Powell, and he has a book called Shit the Moon Said, and it's about his experience talking to the moon. So I'm like, I know this is possible, so I'm gonna talk to the moon. So every question I asked, I got, you know, everything I wanted to know. And then I was like, remembered the last intention, which was heal my heart. So I was like, moon, will you heal my heart? And she's like, yes. So she just pours her healing light from the moon like straight into my heart, and it's just like the most amazing feeling I've ever felt. So I'm laying there in the grass, and there's a girl next to me. She's great. She was having a very insane experience, and she looked like she was like going through some kind of psychosis, mental breakdown. And it's not bothering me at all. I'm like, oh, I'll hear about her story tomorrow, and she's fine. Like, she's fine. And it's not like I can do anything anyways, because I'm supposed to mind my own business, and I'm supposed to heal myself, and she's healing herself. So I have her sitting to the right of me, like having a crazy mental breakdown, and the guy on the other side sounding like he's getting possessed by a demon. And I am just like in heaven, like, ah. Weird, right? But I knew everyone's painful experiences were so beautiful, because we've been having discussions after all of these experiences, especially after the first ceremony. I talked to a lot of people about their experiences, and everyone's just so different but so amazing. So then after that, I finally get to go back to the fire, and I sit by the fire for a while, and then I go lay in the hammock. Oh, and then I talked to a shaman, and I was like, hey, can I have some of that sweet water? Which I didn't really know what it was, but it's something they do for blessings, and they put it on you somehow. I don't know. So He's like, yeah, come to my chair. And he had a chair and he had me sit in it. And he did this whole blessing on me that probably took like 5 minutes, and it was so nice. And he gave me what is called like a spiritual bath with this like elixir. And you put it on my arms and here and like my face, and kind of sounds really weird, but it was really good. And so after he was done, I was like, you know what? I said, this feels like a spiritual playground right now. He's like, it is, go have fun. I was like, yeah. So there were these 2 dogs on the resort, and I hadn't got to like play with them yet. And when I went back outside, I got to like play with them and cuddle, and like they were so cute. The one looks just like my Clarkie, so I was so excited. And then I laid in the hammock for a while, and then I was like getting excited for the closing session where we all get to start talking and share our experience. Because I'm like, I gotta share my experience. I gotta share something about this. And it was taking forever. I felt like I was a kid waiting on New Year's Eve for to strike midnight. That's the kind of essence I got from that night. And so I was trying so hard to stay awake. So I finally had to go back to my bed and lay down. And soon the ceremony was starting to close, and they brought these like beautiful chimes over and kind of like got us all up. And they go through with like these intense incense too. So while you're releasing these negative energies, they're like, they can't like affect other people. They can't stay in you. They gotta like leave. So they have all these incense and things they burn during the whole time too. So finally they call for closing ceremony, and I am exhausted. I am like so tired from all that work. I'm like this. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even, I'm not gonna be able to talk. But my hand shoots up. I'm like, I gotta try. So I share my experience with everybody. And then at the end, I say, I am so exhausted. And everyone laughs, and the shaman looks at me and he goes, happy birthday, Megan. And I was like, it's my spiritual birthday. So that was the best, definitely the best night. They were all amazing, but that was the best. So the next day, I was having some experiences. I couldn't get very hydrated. I was chugging juice, coconut water. They had unlimited coconut water there. Regular water, they had infused water, and then I had 2 big bowls of fruit. I was eating bananas, and my body just couldn't get hydrated. So I'm like, I can't go to the ceremony because you can't really drink a lot of water during the ceremony. I'm like, how's that gonna work for me? So I realized I have to miss it. I'm kind of upset, but I'm like, it's just not meant to be. So I go to get dinner, and there's a couple there. I had an amazing dinner with them. They only did the ayahuasca night 1. They were like in their 70s, and they're like, that was enough for us. We're good. We're just gonna relax and go to the classes. So I had such a good experience with them. And then I finally got back to my room, and I was able to journal. I hadn't been able to write anything down, so I was just writing all my experiences down. And then I did this amazing meditation where I had this other crazy, you thought what I'm talking about was crazy. This was a whole new level of crazy. I'm not ready to share yet what happened in my room, but I will one day. So yeah, that happened. And so the next day I felt better. I finally got hydrated, and I was going to the classes. I'm like, all right, night 4, I am going. Who knows what's gonna happen now. I feel like I got everything I wanted. So this night was a whole different group of shamans. So we had about like 7 or 8 shamans every night, and then the final one was a different kind of ayahuasca. It was a much thicker, and yeah, a whole different group of people, very tribal looking, and yeah, wild, right? Playing weird instruments, and so I was kind of sketchy. I'm like, okay, I got comfortable with all the shamans, and now this is a new group. But the one shaman that led the first night, he was there, and I was excited because he was my favorite. I'm like, okay, Christian's here, I'm good, no worries. And they said that this night was like the most intense night for purging. So I was like, oh God, is this gonna be the night I throw up, or I like poop my pants, or something really embarrassing, right? Because we all have these fears that we're not gonna be able to control things. So yeah, so I go into this night, and it's all about my my intestinal tract. So I grew up with like a lot of IBS, a lot of cramping down there, a lot of problems. Yeah, it doesn't bother me to talk about it anymore. I'm pretty comfortable with my body, but you can imagine the kind of shit I went through, we'll say. So I feel the medicine kicks in pretty quickly. I feel it go straight there. It's like moving stuff around, and I keep having to go to the bathroom, but luckily there's no line, and it all works out. But it felt good. I was like, it felt good to purge. Like, it felt like so much crap was coming out. Physically and metaphorically and spiritually, right? So that was going on all night. So I was doing some deep breathing, and I was trying to kind of relax through it. And all of these emotions and memories were coming to my mind of events that were traumatic for me that caused a lot of pain in that area. So I went through all kinds of events. I'm like, okay, show me what's next. And then they would show me, and I would be like, okay, let's release that. And then I'd go to the bathroom, and then I'd come back. Okay, show me something else. And you're basically in like dialogue with yourself. It's not like you're just talking to the medicine. The medicine is helping you talk to yourself. You're getting all this information. Because we store all this stuff in our subconscious, right? And then when you take this medicine, it just brings everything to the surface. So it's kind of overwhelming, but it's healing because you realize what your body needs and what it needs to get rid of. So the whole night was pretty much about that. And then about halfway through the ceremony, this one's all night, by the way. This one goes until the morning. The shamans come through. Like I said, there's probably 7 or 8 of them. And they told us they were going to do this. They're going to do a blessing for us. So like when you see us come over to your section, go to the edge of your bed and sit up. And we'll each come to you one by one with our different blessing. And some had fans, some had some kind of water, some had instruments. So they all come to you and they do their thing, and while this is happening, I start shaking like crazy. I'm like shaking and yawning. I'm like, what is happening? What am I releasing right now? And I realized when I first got to Rhythmia that I started to have some like crush on some of the guys there, like some of the shamans, and not even just shamans, some of the guests there. Like I started to be attracted, and I got kind of mad at myself. I'm like, Megan, you're here to work on yourself. You are here to go deep and dig. Like, don't be distracted by guys. Like this is not the time, right? You got work to do. So one of the guys I kind of had a crush on was one of the shamans, and I like felt so bad about it. Like I shouldn't, like he's so pure, like stop. And he was while they were doing this blessing, he was part of it. He was like playing some instrument. I think he was playing the harmonica. I don't know. There was a lot going on. And I started to realize that having a crush on this man was actually such a good thing. It was so beautiful because I've had a lot of abusive relationships in the past. And actually pretty much every relationship I have with a man was abusive. Emotionally, never physically, which is just as bad, right? So I realized that since I had grown so much since I've been there, that I was attracted to a different kind of man. Like spiritual, good men that weren't hitting on me. Everyone was so respectful. I was having conversations with men, and it was just so pure and gentle, and something I've never experienced before. The kind of relationship I built with men there was insane. So I realized that I had broken that pattern, that I had broken that cycle of attracting those type of men into my life. And I realized how beautiful it was that I had a little crush on these men, and I wasn't attached to it. I didn't want to date them. I didn't want anything. I wasn't expecting anything from it. It just was the universe showing me that I changed. And when I realized that, I just started crying, like happy cry, the deepest, most intense cry I've ever had in my life. I was just sobbing, and they were still coming over and doing the blessings, and I was just like, ah! But I was so happy, and I wanted to cry like this. I remember last year thinking, I've never had a happy cry. Like I've never ever had a happy cry. And I really wanted that. I really did. And I had been able to, through meditations, kind of experience that. There's a plane. Kind of experience that, where I would get in such a state of gratitude. Like I would kind of be thinking about how I would feel in the future once I was healed, and I was so happy, and I would have like little tears stream down my face, little baby happy cries. But this was like an intense happy cry. Oh man, and I loved it. It felt like, oh, such a good release. It was like I was shaking and yawning was like building up to that, and once I did that, I was like so tired. So after the blessing, I was able to lay down and sleep for a little while, which is actually, it's called nada when you do that on ayahuasca, and it's a really good healing experience. You kind of want to sleep actually while you're on Aya. So I slept for a couple hours. When I woke up, the sun was up, and I just felt so good and relaxed in my bed. I just was like laying there and stretching and yawning, and just I felt so light and free. And so then they called for the closing ceremony, and so we did that. And I didn't even have to go. I don't think I slept at all that night. And each night, by the way, while I was there, I was sleeping like 2 to 3 hours a night. That was it. But you didn't need more sleep. It was weird because you got like so much stuff released from you, I don't know, on the medicine. And it's not like it's an upper or anything like that. It's not like it has a stimulant in the medicine. It's not like that. You weren't like jittery from it. You just were like clear-minded. And so yeah, all the ceremonies were really good. And when I went into the first ceremony, I really thought that it was going to be really intense. Like, I had this image of me with like I actually pulled a tarot card when I first got there, and it was like this girl with a sword, like up for battle against all these other people. Didn't have a description. It just was a picture, and I'm like, yeah, that's me going into battle, you know? And it wasn't like that, you know? The medicine's never what you expect. It was so nurturing. It felt like motherly. That's one of the gifts I really realized that I have, is like I'm like a mother. And everyone I've met throughout my life was like a child to me. You know, I really wanted to support and help them, and I just have that nurturing aspect of me. And it was a beautiful thing to come into realization for. And I learned also, you know, how to be an empath, but not suck up the energies, right? Kind of make space for people. So if they're upset, I'm not soaking up their energy. I'm making a space for them. I'm showing them love and compassion. And then I'm going into my intuition and asking myself what kind of support they need, right? Because some people, it's like you just need to listen. Some people want advice. Some people want a hug. You know, it could be like a physical touch. So just honoring that, and it's been really cool to see all these transformations in myself. I can't wait to come back. I'm still in Costa Rica. It's my last day right now. I can't wait to come back and see everybody and show you, I guess, how I've changed, you know, and tell you more about my experience. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to share with you about it. Oh, so one more thing is, in between each ceremony, we all just get to know each other so well. We're not like, I couldn't tell you half of people's like last names or where they were from or what job they even had, but we're sharing our experiences and we're getting to know each other on such a like soul level that the conversations were so beautiful, and like the synchronicities that kept happening. When you needed to find someone, they were like right behind you and they were looking for you, and it was just like coincidence after coincidence after coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, but it was like really just synchronicity. Like the whole week felt like every conversation I had was like a song and dance. And I've never felt like that before. You were in such a high vibration there, because I guess Costa Rica is the epicenter of the new earth. It's also an energy vortex, for those of you who know that what that is. So, and energy vortexes have very, very high vibrations. So with the high vibrational place we were in, mixed with the medicine being really in a high state, it was like you were walking around and you were just in heaven all the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know. It was unlike something I've ever experienced before. So much love, grateful. I never ate fast there. I was just mindfully, slowly eating, taking deep breaths all the time, which I need to do right now because I'm a little antsy making this video. I just felt like a different person. And I do now. I feel so light. I still notice some of my health problems, but I feel like they're still healing. Like my body's catching up with all the work that I did. But I feel good. I feel ready. I have an idea now what I want to do for my future and what I'm called to do. And I already kind of knew it, but this just, a lot of things I already knew, but this just enhanced my it just gave me what I needed to know to like confirm. It gave me confirmation. That's what I'm trying to say, of what I need to do, the next steps I need to take in my life. And yeah, I hope this inspires you. And I don't want you to think, oh, I'm gonna go to Costa Rica and I'm having an experience just like Megan, because every single person had such a different experience. And some people would take the medicine and kind of have these crazy, intense, really frustrating experiences like every night. And then they would get to the breath work, which I'll talk about that in another video. Last 2 nights we were there, after the ceremonies, we did breath work. And you can actually release DMT through your body with the breath work, because DMT is already inside of us. So this medicine I was taking was just enhancing, it was bringing that to the surface, right? It's not like a chemical that we don't already have. It's something, so DMT is something we release when we're born, when we die, and sometimes in our dreams. So this is just bringing that chemical to us. So yeah, everyone had such a different experience. So some of these people that were frustrated, they would get to the breathwork classes and everything would make sense and come together, and they would just have the most amazing experience, and then they'd share and they'd be like, I was so frustrated and now I know why I'm here and I know what I have to do and I feel so much better. And it was amazing to watch hundreds of miracles happen a day. They're not really miracles too when you think about it. Like, these kind of things are just part of who we are, but you get caught up in such a negative reality that you don't see these things, I suppose. And when all these blessings happen at once, you're like, it must be magic, it must be a miracle. So yes, this was my experience with the ayahuasca, with the DMT. It is a plant. It comes from, I believe, a bark of a tree. And, oh, hi baby. There's some stray dogs here, and I've been playing with them and they love me. They're so cool. Hi, come here. Aw, so I'm getting lots of love for dogs, but I can't wait to come back and see you all. I hope this video helped. I'm sure I missed a lot of things, and I'll share more of my experience. I have another video I'm making, and it's gonna be like a collage of sorts. So I took a ton of videos when I was at the resort. Some of just like the beautiful scenery, some of the people, and then a lot like some of me. And then I'm gonna put it together with some music, and it's gonna be even more of an experience for you to see. So that one might take a while to make, because I don't really make stuff like that, so I need to learn. But stay tuned, and I love you all. Thank you for watching this, and if you have any questions, please send me a message on Instagram. I never not responded to one. And yeah, let me know. Anything, let me know. I love you guys.